Hi, kids. Welcome to Teacher Jean's e-classroom. And today we're going to have English 6, Quarter 1, Week 3 on sound devices. But before we proceed, please don't forget to like and share my video and of course to subscribe to my channel. So what are expected from you today? At the end of the lesson, you're expected to first, note details in a poem. Second, analyze structure of the poem. Third, identify sound devices. And fourth, read the poem appropriately. Before we proceed to the new lesson, let's have some sort of review to see if you have mastered our lesson last week, which was about idioms. Now, I want you to give the meaning of the following italicized idioms. How are you going to do that? You're going to write down 1 to 8 into your activity notebook and then write directly the meaning of the italicized idioms that I'm going to read to you. Are you ready? Number it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's begin. Don't worry about the lesson. It is just a piece of cake. What do you mean by piece of cake? Number 2. The presentation was half-baked because the group lacks more practice. What do you mean by half-baked? Number 3. Henry has to hit the sack after 8 hours of doing the experiment. What do you mean by hit the sack? Number 4. My sister is on the ball as she wanted to succeed in this project. What do you mean by on the ball? 5. Being a couch potato makes a person gain more weight. What's the meaning of couch potato? Number 6. He was digging his own grave when he joined the infamous gang. What do you mean by digging his own grave? 7. After father lost his job during the pandemic, the family has to tighten its belt. What do you mean by to tighten its belt? And number 8, make sure you won't spill the beans or it may cause a lot of trouble. What do you mean by spill the beans? Done answering? Let us check your work. Or if you have a partner there, if your mom is there, your dad is there, your brother, your sister, your cousin, then you can ask them to check your work. But if you're alone, don't worry, you can do it. Ready? Let's go. Number 1, don't you worry about that lesson. It is just easy. Number 2, the presentation was not properly done because the group lacks more practice. The word is not properly done. Number 3, Henry has to go to bed after 8 hours of doing the experiment. Correct answer is go to bed. Number 4, my sister is aware of what is going on. The correct answer is aware of what is going on. Number 5, being lazy makes a person gain more weight. The correct answer is lazy. Number 6, he was putting himself into trouble when he joined the infamous gang. The correct answer is putting himself into trouble. 7, after father lost his job during the pandemic, the family has to cut its spending. The correct answer is cut its spending. And number 8, make sure you won't tell a secret or it may cause a lot of trouble. The correct answer is tell a secret. Count the number of check marks you got. If you got 8, that means you have mastered the lesson that we had on idioms last week. Well done. Did you get 8? Wow, amazing job. Now I'm going to introduce to you another idiom. Idiom for today. The United States of America gave the Filipinos an elbow room of religion. What do you mean by elbow room? What does it mean when you say They gave us an elbow room for religion. Elbow room is an idiom which means having enough space to work, play, or accomplish a task. In short, it means freedom. So when it says the United States of America gave the Filipinos an elbow room of religion, it means they gave us freedom of religion. So when they came here, they did not dictate that, oh, you will only have to be Catholic. No Muslims, no other religions are allowed. No, they gave us elbow room of religion or freedom. So what is freedom? Freedom is a word which means a lot to people, especially to the Filipino people. Look at that picture over there. Do you know that guy? You know that man? He is a symbol of bravery to the Filipino people. He is Lapu-Lapu, our first hero from Cebu. He's one of those people who fought for freedom. So what's freedom? Freedom is a nation's cherished possession. Many men and women have sacrificed their lives to gain freedom for our country. We have Jose Rizal, who gave up his life for our freedom. The Gamburza. We have Andres Bonifacio and all the other heroes that we have. They sacrificed their lives so that we may have freedom for our country. The Philippines have been a Spanish colony for more than 300 years. And after so many years of oppression, the Filipinos finally fought and offered their lives for freedom. And just when they did it, the Americans came. Now, I want you to listen to the poem entitled The Battle of Manila Bay by Procopio Solidum. But before that, before we read the poem, I want you to check out some of these images. Let's exercise. If you still remember our lesson last week, no, not last week, but week before last week, that was week 1, you would remember, you would know how to identify real or factual from make-believe or non-factual images. That is why today I want you to write R if the image is real and M if it is a make-believe. So look at the pictures. Pictures 1 and 2. Now let's move on to pictures 3 and 4. If it's real, write R. If it's make-believe, you write M. I want you to stare at those pictures because those pictures are going to be part of our lesson today. Next one. Pictures 5 and 6. Done answering? Let's go to the checking. Number 1, it's a make-believe, so you write M. Number 2, it's a real picture, so you write R. Number 3 is R, 4 R, 5 M for make-believe, and 6 R for real. Count the number of check marks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Did you get everything correctly? If you got everything correctly, then you have mastered that lesson. That's a very, very good thing. You better not forget our lessons, okay? Once you learned it, then keep it in your mind. Don't learn and then forget it after 2 weeks. Okay, so now let's proceed to the poem entitled The Battle of Manila Bay by Procopio Solidum. 'Twas 10 and 30 years ago. I heard an old man say, when I was out a fishing there upon that shiny bay, and oh, the night was dark and still, and as still as it could be, that I could hear the seagulls saying, oh, happiest are the free. 'Twas alone, so I didn't mind, for I was tired, you know. And here the old man paused a while, his eyes in radiant glow. But, oh, my boy, the old man said, while I was paddling home, I came across a line of things, and each looked like a tomb. And what were they? Spoke the boy. Oh, what were they? He cried. Big ships with cannon, terrible. And here the old man sighed. Oh God, forgive those black-robed friars, those tyrant sons of Spain, who bled our flesh and sucked our blood and hollowed out our plain. Went on the hoary fisherman. Next morn, I heard the sound of roaring guns inside the bay, and smoke was all around. And it was there when I first saw that water rose so high as proud Spain's old men of war hovered under the sky. Dewey had won the morning's fight, and Spain forever lost. These treasure of the Orient seas, the one she prized the most. And that was how that powerful flag came to wave in our air. My son, let them never pull it down. His story ended there. Now let's check out your reading comprehension skills by answering the following questions. I want you to get your notebook and try to scribble down your answers as I flash the questions. Number 1. Who were talking in the poem? The correct answer, are you ready? An old man and a boy were talking in the poem. Number 2. What was the old man telling the boy in the poem? He was telling the boy about the battle in Manila Bay. How did the old man describe the night when he went out to fish? You still remember? How did that old man describe the night when he went out to fish in the beginning part of the poem? Let's check your answer. The night was dark and still. It was very quiet. Number 4, after fishing, what did the old man see as he was paddling home? Describe the old man's reaction to what he saw. He saw big ships with cannons that looked like tombs. He was frightened. He was scared. He was so afraid. Next question. What happened the next morning after the night of peace? Roaring guns were heard and smoke was all around. What happened after that night? The battle began. Number 6. How did the poem end? Who won the battle? Do you know the answer? How did that poem end? The Spaniards lost the battle while the Americans won. Why do you think the old man shared the story to the boy? He wanted the boy to know the history of the country. Why do you think Filipinos were willing to die for their freedom? Why were Filipinos willing to die for their freedom? Could be the reason back then. Let's check your answer. The Filipino spirit of nationalism has been awakened, and that they wanted oppression to stop. As we have discussed in our AP class, when the Suez Canal opened and the galleon trade went on, a lot of Filipinos, a lot of ilustrados, a lot of Filipinos went to Madrid, a lot of Filipinos traveled to Europe, and they learned and they realized that, oh, the Spaniards are not treating us well. They're oppressing us. They're taking away our freedom. They're not taking us seriously. They are biased. So they tried to fight for their freedom. And that spirit of nationalism cost them to have the willingness to die just to get their freedom. Now let's move on. Wait, did you get the answers correctly? I hope so. I hope you understand the meaning of the poem that we have just read. If not, you can just review the video and then review the poem and then try to answer the questions again and see if you have improved your answers. Now let's move on to the structural analysis of the poem. Question number 1. How many stanzas are in the poem? If you still remember, last week we discussed about structural analysis of a poem. So you know already what a stanza is. So how many stanzas are in our poem? There are 5 stanzas. How many lines are there in each stanza? How many? There are 8 lines in each stanza. Now look at the first stanza and take note of the sound of the underlined letters. You have there, 'twas 10 and 30. Underline T, then T, and then T. So the T for 'twas, the T for 10, and the T for 30. And then I underlined I in still, and I in another still, and I in it, then E in B, EA in here, EA in seagulls, I in happiest, and EE in free. What did you notice about the sounds of the underlined letters? It was 10 and 30. Did you notice there? The sounds are repeated in the beginning. And in some other words, the sounds are repeated in the middle. Are there repeated sounds? Of course, yes, there are. The T, T, and the E sounds. Now, I want you to know, kids, that poets use sound devices. These sound devices are also known as musical devices to express vividly the emotions, meaning, and mood of their poems. Some of these devices are the following. We have number 1, alliteration. What is alliteration? It is the repetition of consonant or vowel sounds at the beginning of the word, just like in the example, 'twas, 10, 30. So the beginning T, T, T sounds are repeated. So that is what we call alliteration. But do not confuse yourself with alliteration with the next kind of sound device, which is assonance. Assonance is the repetition not of the beginning sound, but repetition of the vowel sounds, typically with different consonants that create internal rhyming within phrases or sentences in the middle of the words, like this one. Still and it. They have Okay, the sound is repeated in still and it. You do not say steal, but it's still. Short I, still, it. And then for E in B, EA in here, EA in seagull, and E in free. So those are, although they have different letters, the first one has only one E, the second one has a pair of E and A, and then the last one has double E, but still they have the same vowel sounds, and these vowel sounds were repeated, and that is what you call assonance. So they don't have to be like the same spelling of the letter or the same letter, but what is important is that if there is a repetition of the same vowel sound in the middle of the word, that is called assonance. Then the last sound device is onomatopoeia. It is the use of words that imitate sounds. Like, for example, Next morning, I heard the sound of roaring guns inside the bay. So the word roaring suggests the real sound of the word roar. So that is onomatopoeia. Now let's do some exercise. Let's try to identify the literary sound device used in the following. If it is an alliteration, write AL. If it's an assonance, write AS. And if it is an onomatopoeia, you write O. Number your paper, your notebook, 1 to 8. Are you ready? If you are, then let's begin. Number 1. I jump into our washing machine for sudsing and soaking and rolling and churning. Number 2. Flags flutter and flap. Number 3. From the jingling and tinkling of the bells. Number 4. Nonna knits 9 nice nets. Number 5. They lack the knack of snack pack. They lack the knack for snack pack. Number 6. You could taste the spring paste fill the air. You could taste the spring paste fill the air. 7. Frogs croak, birds whistle. And number 8. Peter Piper picks a pack of pickled pepper. How many packs of pickled pepper did Peter Piper pick? Are you ready for the checking? Done? Let's go. Number 1. I jump into our washing machine for sudsing and soaking and rolling and churning. The repetition is of the consonant sound in the middle, so it's assonance. Number 2, the flags flutter and flap. You can answer AL or alliteration because there is a repetition of the F sound in the beginning of the words, flags flutter and flap. But you could also answer O for onomatopoeia because flutter and flap suggest the real sound of the action. Number 3, from the jingling and tinkling of the bells. Jingling and tinkling suggest the real sounds of the bells, so it's onomatopoeia. O. Nonna knits 9 nice nets. The N sound is repeated in the beginning, so it's alliteration, AL. They lack the knack for snack pack. The repeated sound is the vowel sound in the middle, ah. So that is assonance, AS. You could taste the spring paste fill the air. If you can notice, the A in taste and A in paste are repeated. So that is repetition of consonant sound in the middle, assonance. Number 7, frogs croak. Birds whistle. They suggest the real sound of the words croak and whistle. So that's onomatopoeia. And lastly, Peter Piper picks a pack of pickled pepper. How many packs of pickled pepper did Peter Piper pick? This is a very good tongue twister because the letters in the beginning are repeated. The letter P is repeated. So that is alliteration, AL. Count the number of check marks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Did you get perfect? Wow, amazing job. You're very good. You're doing very well. Now let's move on to the assessment. I have here 3 poems. A, that's entitled Water. B, it doesn't have a title. And C, it's entitled Spring Kids. I want you to read it very carefully. As I read it, you read it with your eyes and then try to identify the sound device which is used in each poem. Answer only one sound device which is very obvious in each poem. Ready? Water. Sinks clog, water streams mud in a bog. Waves crash, rain falls, pitter, pitter, pat against the dripping wall. Ice melts and drizzles down the frosted tree trunk without a sound. Seas surge and oceans swirl. What is the sound device used there? Now let's move on to letter B. The man on the corner pulls petals from the rosebuds, preparing them perfectly out on the street. He sells them from buckets. My eyes are enchanted. Pink puddles of petals float over his feet. What sound device is used in poem B? And then in poem letter C, Spring Kids. The morning was cold with bold statement. The morning dew was wet and set in the ground. You could taste the spring paste fill the air and made you feel real, refreshed and lively. Should you go out and play? I would. Young girls and boys grab their toys and play. Boys playing in the dirt while girls play with their pearls. The mom would tap her foot to say, nap time, kids. So what is the sound device for this poem? Done? Then let's check your work. Let's see how much you've learned. Poem A is Onomatopoeia. It's more of the sound device wherein the words suggest the real sound. Second is alliteration. There are repetitions in the beginning sounds. And lastly, it's assonance because the repetition happens in the middle of the words. Did you get perfect? Did you master the lesson? I hope so. And I really think that you're doing great. So if you got 3, that means you got it very, very well. Job well done. Keep soaring. Now for your assignment or additional activity after you have watched this video presentation, I want you to read the poem. You don't have to memorize it. All you have to do is just to read the poem, The Battle of Manila Bay, with proper pronunciation, diction, facial expression, and voice projection. And I want you to record your performance in a video. It's up to you whether you like to stand while reading the poem or if you want to sit down while reading the poem, it's up to you. So this is the rubric. You have to take note of the pauses and pacing. So you have to listen very carefully to the video and watch where the pauses and pacing happens. Next is clarity of speech. Next is voice projection. So when you say voice projection, there are parts that you have to go fast. There are parts that you have to go slow. There are parts that you have to say it aloud. There are some that you have to say softly, some just normal. For enthusiasm, you have to show interest while delivering your poem. And lastly, eye contact. You might be asking, oh, why eye contact when it's in a video? You look at the video, you make sure you stare at it as if you're staring at your audience. So there would be eye contact while I watch your video. Is that clear? I guess so. Before we end our session, I want you to remember this. The only real prison is fear. And the only real freedom is freedom from fear. So do not fear when you are delivering your speech. Be confident, be real, feel free to express your feelings as you deliver it, as you show your love for your country, as you show your love for freedom. So don't forget to like and share my video, and of course to subscribe to my channel. This is your teacher Jean saying, always stay safe, kids, and God bless you always. Bye-bye. Until next video.